Yo, yo, how's everybody doing? Sweet. Nice to meet all of you. It's weird, I was telling someone earlier, usually when I speak, there's like 80 people the week before, 80 people the week after, 10 people the week I speak, so there's not a whole lot of pressure.
You're doing well.
So we're all going to get through this together as a family. Those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Josiah Boyd. I'm the youth leader, pastor guy here. I get stressed when people clap before, because what if this sucks, you know? So who am I? What do I do? This is kind of what I do. I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to be in ministry. I wanted to choke necks, cash checks, and all that stuff. But then me and God had an argument. He won. That's why we're all here together. I help out with all kinds of youth groups. I help out with 4 youth groups right now because I trust in God. And I go on world tour every week, it feels like. I put a lot of miles on my car. I'm also a chaplain's assistant in the Nevada National Guard. I've mobilized under the MOS and everything. And so yeah, I'm in the business of helping people, try my best. I suck at it sometimes, but that's okay. I live and learn. But if you want to know anything else about me, I don't know, check out my MySpace page or something. And sometimes I write jokes and I'm like, I wonder if that'll hit. But I'm so happy that you're here. I tell my youth kids this all the time, and I'm going to tell you guys too. I'm so happy that we get to be here together. We get to work through this together. We get to grow as a family, grow as a community, grow as a church. I get to see you guys figure out your faith and grow closer to God, and then we go out into the world and change it. So let's do that a little bit today. We're going to read some scriptures. We're going to break them down a little bit, and then we're going to, show that how that impacts your life. So last week we started a series called Shape Up. Pastor Burton did an awesome job. I drove through a snowstorm while he was preaching, so I watched it after the fact. And he did amazing. There was like 5 pillars. He told a story that almost made me cry. And then, so now we're here, and I'm going to try to do the same thing. Not make you cry or whatever. I'd rather make you laugh. Laughing's more my business. But if you will turn to your Bibles right now, you can turn them on. You can close that Candy Crush app right now. You can flip to your Bibles. We're going to read out of Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And this is what it says. Mine's out of the Message version, so it's a little bit different. So this is what it says. It says, "Be especially careful when you're trying to be good so that you don't make a performance out of it. It might be good theater, but the God who made you won't be applauding. When you do something for someone else, don't call attention to yourself. You've seen them in action, I'm sure. Play actors, I call them. Treating prayer meetings and street corners alike as a stage. Acting compassionate as long as someone is watching. Playing to the crowds. They get applause, true, but that's all they get. When they help someone out, don't think about how it looks, just do it. Quietly and unobtrusively. That is the way your God, who conceived you in love, working behind the scenes, helps you out." So, who's talking? Jesus. If I was teaching kids right now, I would probably make a joke about how 90% of the time the answer is going to be Jesus or Jesus loves you, which is true. And right now, he is talking to his disciples, and he's teaching them something very simplistic: to help people without expecting anything in return. To help people because it's the right thing to do. Simple, right? All right, that's all I got. So, no. But we help people because it's the right thing to do. Now, this is something we should be doing, but we don't. And this is where I have to burst some bubbles, break some bad news, and then try to teach you how to do it correctly. Or we don't just help people. We do help people, but it's for all the wrong reasons. So let's talk about some of these things. First, let's talk about how we're not doing it. Now, it's interesting because when I work with toddlers or babies, all of them are selfish. They're like some of the most selfish people I've ever met in my whole life. They'll be coloring with one hand, eating goldfish flavor blast with the other, but they'll also have a truck, a ball, a board game. They'll have anything and everything that they can get. And what'll happen is a kid will come along the way and he'll be like, "Well, you're not playing with the ball. Clearly, I can see that." So they take the ball. And then the kid usually yells or screams about how that's their ball, they're playing with it, they're using it. And then usually I have to come in and be like, all right, what's going on? And he's like, I was eating Flavor Blast goldfish. I was coloring, and this dude took my ball. And I'd be like, well, were you playing with the ball? And they're like, yes. And I have to say, that's physically impossible. Because I talk to kids the way I talk to adults. I say that's physically impossible. And then I have to teach them that sharing is caring. And then through sharing is caring, we teach them to help one another out, to look after one another. So then eventually, if you're eating a candy bar, some kid doesn't have a candy bar, he'll share some of his candy bar with him. He'll help him out. He'll look after him. And then all these kids are awesome because they're helping everybody out. They're looking out for everybody. They're all one pack. And then somewhere along the line, something gets kind of messed up again. Because then I run into adults, and they're some of the most selfish beings I've ever met in my entire life. They start to say things like, well, it's my time. I earned it. I'm going to spend it doing what I want to do. Sounds good, dude. It's my money. I earned it. I'm going to spend it on things that I want to spend it on. Sounds good, dude. Congratulations. The problem is, if you're thinking like that, and you're thinking like that, and you're thinking like that, then the people who need help aren't getting it. But then I run into a few people who are like, all right, I guess I'll live by the way Jesus taught me, and I'm going to help people. So then they have to give all their time and all their money to look after everyone, instead of everyone kind of giving a little piece to help out in the grand scheme of things. The other place we have a problem is we help people, but we do it for all the wrong reasons. The holiday season just passed. I actually preached these things to my youth a couple weeks ago. And during the holiday seasons, I see all kinds of cool stuff. People work at soup kitchens. They hand out clothes to the homeless. They make sure underprivileged kids get presents on Christmas Day. I'm not telling you to stop doing that. I would never tell you. That would make me a horrible person. What I'm telling you is you don't have to post it online all the time. Because I know that you're doing something awesome, and I'm saying good job. But the problem is you're looking out for likes, comments, shares. We want the things where people are like, good job, man. Show them how it's done. We want the Yas Queens. And our favorite of all, we want people to say things like, I just can't believe it. I would never. Because now it puts us at a higher stance than they are. Because we would be willing to do something more than they would. Now, some of the examples that came up, because even though I don't post on social media, I'm on social media, is I saw this video circulating around where this guy showed up to somebody and he's filming. She doesn't know he's filming. And they're at like a Jamba Juice or Starbucks or something. And he's like, man, I forgot my wallet in the car. Could you just get me a small water? And she pulls out her little wallet and has a couple wadded up ones in it. And she looks at him and goes, you know what? Get whatever you want. Whatever size, whatever drink. And he's like, really? She's like, yeah. And he says, you know what? I actually didn't forget my wallet. I was just trying to see if someone would do something good. Here's $500. Now, if I had $500, I would give it to all of you. And then I would expect a tithe after or something. But, you know, I understand how this works. But what happens is we focus on him and we think, wow, that guy's super rad. But he got all the likes, comments, shares. He probably got his $500 back from all the Instagram ads, all the YouTube ads. But who we should be focusing on is her, who didn't know someone was filming, didn't know he had $500, but was willing to give up her couple dollars to make sure that someone she didn't know had something to drink. We end up focusing on the wrong person. The other example I came up with was a couple summers ago. I was gone. I don't remember much. But apparently some people had some issues with some things and some cities got destroyed. I don't care what side you're on or whatever. The fact of the matter is some cities got destroyed. Now somebody has to rebuild these cities because we still live in them. And what happened was the people who actually went in and fixed your local drugstore, fixed your grocery store, helped those small businesses rebuild, they didn't get a whole lot of airtime. I wasn't seeing a whole lot of construction guys on Instagram or TikTok or the news. What I did see was Instagram influencers pulling up in their Tesla, hopping out, being like, hey man, can I borrow your drill and your hard hat for a second? And they're like, yeah. And then they would take a picture like this. And then they would hand it back. And then they would hop back in their Tesla and post something about rebuilding downtown, #blessed. And we ended up focusing on them and not the people who are actually rebuilding things. We end up focusing on all the wrong things. The problem is someone brings it up, right? And we know how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to help people because it's the right thing to do. But what ends up happening is we get mad for a minute. We get frustrated. We say things like, I'm going to help everybody that I run into. But then we don't change anything. And the worst part is to change it is something very simple, as I said earlier. It's just to help people because it's the right thing to do. That's it. But we still get mad and we still move on. Now, one thing that I want to send is some inspirational stuff or whatever. So I read a lot. I try to, at least. I'm not very good at it, but I try my best. And I read this book called Life is Messy by Matthew Kelly. If I've told this story before, it's a good refresher. If you've never heard it before, pay attention or whatever. So in this book, what it is Matthew Kelly, he's this guy that travels around. He gives all types of sermons, all kind of TED Talks, and he's on panels and all that. And what he does is he writes down like half ideas. And now I understand what he's talking about because now that I travel around all the time and I'm always working with people, I write down like half ideas or quarter ideas, and I never fully hash them out. It's just something to kind of remind me. And in this book, he takes all those ideas that he had and he actually hashes them all out, and then he put them in a book so that you can read and have good life lessons. Now, one of them, he talks about when he was a little kid and he was with his brothers and they go to the park and they find a soccer ball. Now, we've all been kids. We've all been at the park. And we've all found a ball at some point. And I mean, you might as well have won the Super Bowl. I mean, it is the greatest moment of your whole life. I mean, you're parading around the park with your new ball. And that's how they were. And they played with it all day and all night, and it was awesome. And then the streetlights came on. They went home because that's how we used to know how to go home, right? Kids on Fortnite don't know that. They just think the streetlights are always on. But they take their ball home, and they're holding their bounty, and they put it down, and they go to wash their hands for supper. And when they come back, their dad's standing there, as dads do. And they're like, whose ball is this? And they're like, Dad, you'll never believe it. We found it at the park for free. And he's like, that's impossible. Nothing is free. He's like, you have to take this ball back. And they're like, no, Dad, it's cool. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. And he's like, that is not real. They're like, he tells them, could you imagine saving up all your money to buy a ball, and then you take it to the park and forget it, and now you don't have a ball? So they go back and forth a little bit, and like normal conversations with your dad, he wins. And they kind of walk begrudgingly back to the park. And when they get there, there's a father and a son looking for anything and everything. And they're looking through stuff, and the kid is just crying, tears running down his face, snot bubbles and all. And they're like, hey, is this your ball? And the kid's eyes light up, and a smile grows from ear to ear. And he's like, yes. And he takes the ball, and the dad says, yesterday was his birthday, and this was his favorite toy. And he forgot it at the park, and he was crushed, but you have returned it to him. So they wave, those people get in their car. They walk back to their house, and like normal, the dad's sitting there because he's about to drop some major knowledge on them. Because always. And when they get inside, his dad sits them down, and he says, today you did something great. You didn't just show them that the Kelly family is good. You showed them that there are still great people in the world. Now, when I read things, I like to work through them, think about them a lot, try to figure out what that means in my own life and all that. And I was on one of my drives one time to one of the various places I go, and I started thinking about it, and I'm kind of self-deprecating as a human. I think it makes me better. Other people think it's a bad habit, but I guess the jury's still out on that one. But I started to think about it, and I didn't think about all the times I showed there were great people in the world. I started to think about all the times I missed the opportunity to show there were still great people in the world. Because when I watch the news, hop online, or just simply stand in a public place and look around, the world is messed up. It's bent, it's broken, it's dark, it's dank. And there's not a whole lot of people showing there's great people in the world. That's a lot of selfish, it's my time, it's my money, I'm gonna do it. And we think that we're a part of communities who are willing to help out, but how many of you know how many friends you really have when it's time to move houses? Because I'll tell you, it's probably zero, because I'm probably there, and I've just met you through a text. How many people know that when you have kids, you and your wife or you and your husband haven't had a date night in a long time because no one will watch the kids and you don't really trust strangers, which is a very normal feeling. And you start to think, if we could just have someone watch the kids, or you need to pay something and you find out that you don't have enough money, or you need a ride somewhere and no one's willing to pick you up. No one is willing to help anymore. It's a very simple thing to help one another because it's the right thing to do. Now, trust me, I grew up with a pastor as a dad, so I've helped a lot of people. Like, a lot of people. And a lot of them I didn't even know. And sometimes it's awesome, it's rewarding. You get pizza at the end of the day or something. You rarely ever get paid, but it feels good. But no one else is helping out. Because sometimes when you help people, it sucks. Because people suck. And it hurts. I've gotten my heart ripped out of my chest. I've gotten pushed down in the dirt. I've gotten left behind by people I would give anything and everything to them. But I also know that when I stand back up, no one else is doing it. And if I know no one else is doing it, but I know I'm doing it, I know at least it's getting done. And someone's being helped out. Now, I could try to change the world by myself. I drink enough energy drinks to make that happen. It's very unhealthy. But I recognize it, and that's part of knowing you have a problem. But if you would, tag along a little bit. And start small. I don't want you to just leave today and you just help anybody and everybody that you run into. That would be sick, but then I would be getting a call that you need help on rent or moving or something like that. What I'm saying is start small. Help out someone in your house, help out somebody in your community, help out someone close to you. And then when you have a moment, split-second decision, think to yourself, am I going to show that there are still great people in this world? Am I still going to show that what Jesus taught is the true meaning of life? And then make your decision. And whatever decision you make, that's up to you, man. When we're all standing in heaven, I'll be like, I don't know, man, he made some decisions. I taught him the right thing. But in conclusion, this week, realize that Jesus is teaching something simple, but very impactful. Realize that we're all doing this together. Look around the room. You have a family, a community, a church of people who are making those same decisions to help out. That you're not alone. That when it sucks, somebody else is probably also going through something that sucks. And you can come back here and talk about it and then get back out there and start doing some great things. Realize that it's going to be hard, but ultimately it's better for society because your kids are going to see how you treat people, and then they're going to do the same thing and teach their kids how to treat people. And then lastly, realize that you can still show the world that there are great people in it. That's all I have prepared. I'm going to pray. After I pray, these guys are going to do some worship. They're going to engage in worship, and I challenge you to do the same. Don't just read the words off the screen. Don't just clap because everybody else is clapping. Don't just raise your hands because everybody else is. Mean it when you do it. Reach out for a God who loves you. Clap because you're excited to be a part of something. And mean the words that you say. So if you'll bow your heads with me and close your eyes. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you've given me. Thank you so much for this family, community, church that I get to help out with, and they get to teach me anything and everything at all times. I hope that we spark something today. I hope that they go out into the world and start showing that there are still great people in it by loving and caring for everyone that they run into, Lord. I can't wait to see all the amazing things they do. I can't wait to see them become the teachers, mentors, and leaders that you created them to be, Lord. I thank you so much. In your name I pray. Amen.